Remy Ro, glad to have you here, bro.
Glad to be here, man.
It's always good to talk to what I call good brothers, who I know has good intentions and is actually living with a purpose. And so I know that after this interview, a lot of people understand what I mean when I say that, good brother living on purpose with good intentions. So with that being said, just kind of give us a little bit about Remy Ro. Who is Remy Ro? Let the world know who you are.
All right. Remy Ro now is completely different from who Remy Ro was back then. I got the name from a cousin that was a local rap artist at the time. He was killed back in 2002. So I kept the name going while I was in school. I started rapping myself and progressed really well once I moved from Gonzales to Georgia. At that time, my lifestyle was completely different from what it is right now. So the Remy Ro then was all about music. I was more on the negative path in life due to certain tragedies I encountered while I was young. Now Remy Ro is an advocate, an advocate for the youth, an advocate for prison reform, the homeless, just people that's in need, period. I like to, any conversation I have, I like to give encouragement and just be an uplift to my people as a whole.
Gotcha. So, so you would say you got involved with street life more so out of rebellion or rebelling to, the things that your parents set up for you, those guidelines, or was it more of a, you know what, I'm just kind of hanging out, and then, piece by piece, I started to adapt to, this street life. So which would you say would be more accurate, if any?
Both, everything you said, it plays a part. Coming up, my parents both were into church. They still into church real hard. So I was brought up in a good neighborhood, average neighborhood. My brother and my sister, they came up more around bad areas. By the time I was born, my parents, they worked hard to make sure that I didn't have to come up in no type of project or anything. So some would say I was born with a silver spoon, but it was certain tragedies that hit me at an early age. And I'm sure when we young, as young boys, we don't know how to open up. We think it's not cool because you don't know how somebody's gonna react, if they're gonna clown you, tease you. So for me, I was always the smallest person every school I went to. So I always had like a reason why I had to be defensive, because I didn't have nothing really going for myself as far as sports. I wasn't good in sports. So I lacked confidence. I had no confidence in myself. I was real insecure. Didn't know how to just open up and tell people that. So I had to do something to, like, okay, what can I do to make people like me in a certain sense? And for me, it was fighting, always fighting, losing fights left and right, and to the point when I start winning them, then I start liking it. It's like, all right, well, this is what I'm gonna do. But, that was like everywhere, I'm talking everywhere I went. I don't care if it was a church function, school function, again, I fought. I was gonna fight. Like, it was always known that boy gonna get in a fight with somebody.
Look, I'm laughing. I remember when we were in school one time, and you were about to fight in front of the school. I don't know what it was or what the situation was, but you was ready, boy.
that was all I had going for myself. I couldn't, and I just. It was one of those things, of being light-skinned, people gonna put a label on you, oh, he a pretty boy, so he ain't gonna fight, and for me, it was like, I didn't care how big you was, like, that was a challenge. I didn't wanna fight people my size. I wanted to fight the giants, because I'm like, all right, that's a challenge for me. But then going in a more of a dark path, from fighting, it was more of what happened when I was young. I really didn't know who God was. I would hear people talk about God, like, man, God is this, he's so good, he's so that, but I had never experienced him. Right. So something happened at my childhood church where I went to. I wasn't there this particular night, but that was where I was baptized at for the first time, New St. John. I'm sure y'all remember this. I heard of it back in '99, where a guy came into the church. He killed a few people that I knew,
yeah.
including his infant son that was only like 2 or 3 at the time. And this happened in church, at my home church at that. So for me, I was like, all right, well, dang, I'm a child. I don't understand that. You know, I hear people when they get killed at the club or if they get killed robbing somebody, people say, well, they got what they deserved or they was at the wrong place at the wrong time. But I'm like, church is a place where I always heard people go as a safe haven. You go in there to get the word. You go in there to learn. How can you be at church and be at the wrong place at the wrong time? So that got me to the point where I really didn't believe in God no more. It was like, man, God just a myth. And I started listening to all the wrong music, you know, all the Tupac, the Soulja Slim, and when you young like that and you listen to music like that, it's really demons and spirits in those songs. If you don't protect what you hear, you're gonna start becoming what you hear. And that happened to me. And then that same year, my girlfriend, we were real close. That puppy love, you know, at the time you thinking that's who you're gonna be with the rest of your life. Where her and her brother was killed in a house fire. And that just took a lot, like that really took a lot out of me because when that happened, I couldn't open up. My mom and them knew. They saw like this is affecting him in a way that we need to get him some help. But I never would open up about it. I would just stay closed. So when people would bother me, I would blow up because I'm holding all this anger. I'm holding this tragedy of losing people. And it never stopped. I kept losing people close to me. So that put me in the mind frame like, I'm not gonna let nobody do that to me. So it went from fighting to now I'm like in the 9th grade and I'm getting involved with guns. So now I'm buying guns and I'm going into, now it's like, it's not just fighting no more, it's actually shootouts. And every shootout I would make it out alive, I thought I was invincible. I'm bad. I didn't understand that Nip said it best. It was God's grace. You know, it wasn't me that was doing it, but you couldn't tell me that at the time. At the time, I'm like, boy, I'm bad. I done found, I might not be able to play sports, but I can shoot you.
I found my niche.
Yeah, I found my niche. You know what I mean? And it really went, like I took it serious. It was never no shooting in the air with me. It was, it was no limit to where I would go. Now I wasn't the type to just go start mess, but if you mess with me, I was gonna take it to
down.
whatever extreme it needed to go to. And that was just from all the hurt, the anger, being insecure, all that combined. Yep.
And that's something because, when I see you, I really see a person who's fearless. Well, I guess let me rephrase that. I think because everyone has some kind of fear or has at least experienced some kind of fear, before.
That's right.
But when I see you, I see, or should I say, I think what separates the strong from the weak are those who are willing to conquer those fears.
Yes.
By themselves. Not the false courage of I got an army of people with me, or not, this person gonna help me get through this, And so I see that coming out in your efforts, from dealing with like the homeless and dealing with, this person and that person. It's almost like, all right, well, if ain't nobody else gonna do it, then I'm gonna get out of here and do it myself.
I'm gonna do it myself, Yes.
And listening to you talk about your story, it almost seems like that same fearlessness, if I could use that word, is kind of what drove you to, that wrong path in a sense. Like, what? I ain't got nothing to lose.
Yes.
I'm gonna do this, and wherever I end up, is where I end up.
That's right.
And I see that a lot. So I understand exactly where you're coming from. I understand what you're saying when you talk about losing loved ones, because I've been on, that side of it as well.
Yes.
I can name 4 of my closest, immediate circle, from a brother who, well, his first cousin, but, like when they saw me, they saw him,
Yes.
Brother, to other cousins, who died in gun violence and stuff
Yes.
like that. And so I understand the effect that it could have on a person. But just to see that you've made it to the point to where you are right now, man, it's amazing.
Right.
You know, it's a testament, I think, to God's grace and to yourself, you know, because it's hard to keep a sound mind in situations like that. So could you touch on, I guess, some of the places you've been because of, you know, that fearlessness or the shootouts that you talked about? You know, I know you had some legal troubles and things like that. Could you touch on some of that?
Yes, definitely. First, I think major shootout I had, and it's not the first one, it's just one that it really sit in good with me because I was still young, still in school. And my cousin who was killed in 2002, his name was Wellman, but he went by a rap name Fetty, you know, and we were real close. You know, he was like a protector over me. So when he was killed, it took a lot out of me. It just made me even more angry because now I'm going from 99 when I lose people. Lost my uncle. He was another person that when I was with him, I could be a kid. I didn't have to worry about being defensive. I could be that kid. It didn't matter that I didn't know how to play basketball or football. I could just play Nintendo or shoot with him, and he didn't judge me based off you just completely missed the rim. You know, it was no judging. It was just
that bad.
I was bad. I'm serious. Now I can foul. I'll foul you. But so far as being able to play, I really couldn't. You know, I was always the last to get picked on the team, but the first to get picked on. So that's why teachers, they didn't understand. They looked at me as being aggressive, but I was more defensive. I had to be that way. But with certain people, I could be myself. I didn't have to be Remy Ro. I really could be Romaine. So those people that I lost, those were the people who I could be Romaine with. So it was like I was forced to be Remy Ro even when I didn't want to be. And people who didn't know me just looked at me from what they heard. It's like we don't get that. But this one particular night, I got in I got in a physical fight on Burnside. Me and my friends and my brothers, we wound up going to Highway 30 because after the games, everybody liked to go to gas stations, you know. So we get to this gas station, one guy pull up on me and he pulled his gun out. And he's right up on me. All he got, even if you can't shoot, you gonna hit me because he that close to me. And you know, you see these movies when stuff like that happen and you say, run, run, and you stupid fool or something like that. But I couldn't move. I was just froze, you know, and I knew that, man, like this is, I'm about to die. Like I'm thinking this in my head. And I hear a gunshot go off and I'm thinking it's me. And I'm thinking like I done been hit. But I realized, well, hold up. I'm not hit, you know. I start looking around, but it's my brother. He's shooting back at the guy that didn't pull. Now the guy who pulled the gun on me, he pulled the trigger, but his gun jammed on the first pull. That don't even happen. So, and this is a story really only my close friends knew. So y'all getting something that's never been told to the public because my friends who were there, who witnessed it, you know, they saw it and everybody ducking, and now it's a full-blown shootout at a gas station. Well, all you got to do is hit a pump or something and anything can happen. But we get on the interstate, my mom get the calling. We like, there's no way she know this already. Now, my mom is real spiritually connected to God, so she'll scare you, you know, and she get the calling. And, man, I get home, and she was waiting on me. As soon as I got in the house, I'm probably, if I have to guess my age, I might be 15 or 16 at the time. I get in the house and she said something to me. She said, you know, Wellman, who was my cousin at the time that had been killed, she said, his spirit is vexed. He can't rest. With all that you're doing, he can't rest. And he it's like, I can't remember her exact words, but what she told me is that he came to her and he said he have to let me go. So I'm like, whatever. Ma. I'm young. I'm a teenager at the time. Like, you sound crazy. That sounds crazy to me. He dead. He ain't come to you, you know. But what happened is, Wellman used to come to my dreams a lot. And we would, you know, when he would come to my dreams, we would actually like take car rides and stuff. So, but I know I'm dreaming, but it's me and him together. So I felt good. Well, after this night, when my mom told me this, he never appeared in a dream again. So I start thinking, I'm like, boy, I'm having mixed emotions because I'm like, well, maybe my mama did know what she talking about. Plus, how did she know about this shootout? Because it happened, it was too soon for somebody to call and tell her. So I'm like, man, but then I start getting angry with him. I'm like, well, man, why would you speak this? And now he don't, I'm going to sleep wishing that he come to my dreams so that, man, I could spend some time with him. And it didn't happen. So I knew even at that moment, I'm like, man, maybe she was right. I wasn't letting him rest because, I was constantly getting in these shootouts, and it was him who protected me that night as an angel. So I really started believing in that it wasn't a myth to me no more. It was like, but I was angry at the same time. It was like a good and bad, so I was angry with my mom too, like, man, you shouldn't have spoke that, but my mom was the type, when she love you, she gonna tell you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. So it was her who was always praying for me, her and my dad, when I would get into all these shootouts, and different things would happen. And of course, it escalated. It went from, eventually no people getting hit to sometimes people would get hit and not die. But it was like, all right, well, I'm not hit, so I'm gonna keep it going. And it followed me. I wound up moving to Georgia, and trouble followed me. I went down there to pursue my career, actually, because I had lost some jobs due to my background, the choices I made when I was younger. They start following me. Every time I would either apply for a job, I would get denied because of my background. I got my first felonies when I was 17 for attempted murder and a slew of other charges I had at the time. So when I would either get the job or apply, like I say, it's like I'm on the job for about a month or so. Next thing I know, they come to me, we got to let you go because of your background. So that pushes you back in the street. If you don't have nobody to pick you up and, tell you things gonna be better, don't look at the physical, you gonna go back to what you know. And all I knew was the streets at the time. So it's like, well, nobody wanna hire me, or they judge me. I'm trying to change my life, but how could I change when I go to this job, when I go to this plant, I'm getting embarrassed. Now you got the security come and walk me out in front of everybody. That was embarrassing. So it just sent me back into a dark path every time.
So, and I know you mentioned, the attempted murder charge and stuff like that. So was that a particular shootout type situation, or was that just like, something that happened at random? And I don't want you to go.
Yeah, it was more of an ongoing beef situation that I was in at the time. And they done something more personal where they jumped me and one of my friends. So I was always like, I could respect if you fight me one-on-one and beat me up, I could respect that. But if you jump me and you hit me with some objects or something, I can't respect that. Now I gotta take it to another level because you took it there. You took it to what may be your maximum, but I'm gonna take it to what's mine. And that's what I did. And I wasn't proud of it, now I'm not, but back then, to be honest, I was. It was like, because I knew that I didn't need a crowd. I didn't need people with me. Like anything that I ever done, sometimes I would go on missions alone, and I would catch people. I would catch them in crowds, and I'd be by myself, and I hop out, and I'm like, what's up? and they knew when I come, if they see me and they know, boy, it's about to be something, So then, my dad always told me, if you think you bad, there's somebody else out there who badder too. So my name starts spreading, and then you get those other schools, and it's like they hear of you. So when you go to visit their game or something, it's like, man, we gonna start something with him because we been hearing about him. So let's test him. And I was never gonna back down, ever, especially back then, because I had nothing to lose. I didn't, many times my daddy would ask me, do you even care if you live or die? And I didn't care at the time. I really didn't. It was like, no, I don't. So if I don't have nothing to lose, it is what it is.
Yeah, I understand. I definitely understand the feeling, and and even to this day, I still work with a lot of the youth, and so I'm still connected to, that mind frame. So I never get into judging these individuals, but it's a common mind frame amongst a lot of the youth, and and this is part of the reason why we're doing what we're doing. Obviously we're sharing your story. And then, we're definitely going to get on to the redemption part of it, because you don't get this Remy Ro today you know, without knowing the Remy Ro from back in the day. And so I was looking at one of your posts, and I was just kind of reading through it, and you were saying that you were at one point on lockdown, you know, 23 and 1 or sometimes the whole 24 hours. And in the last interview we did, it was one of my partners, a guy named Kirk Pellichet from Baton Rouge.
Okay.
And he had been in the same situation before as well. I think he said he was on lockdown for maybe 3 months or so.
Okay.
And I was asking him, how did you keep your sanity, you know, in a situation like that? I've had other friends who have been in a hole for months and months at a time. And personally, I think some of them kind of lost something, because you talk to them nowadays, they a little off. But some people come out of those situations better than others. So you had an encounter while you were in the hole. So could you talk about that?
Yes, and even what led me there was, now this was the biggest obstacle in my life at that time, in my life. I was actually incarcerated for first-degree murder with malice. So in the state of Georgia, when they hit you with first degree, the first thing they're gonna do, if they have enough evidence on you, which they had enough evidence, they didn't know the real story because they didn't care to learn who I was. They just knew that, hey, we got the guy who did it, we have witnesses, and they started seeking the death penalty. So for me to have somebody look in my face and tell me we're gonna seek the death penalty, it took a lot out of me. You know, it took, even in words, I can't really put it in words what it took out of me. So as they started telling me these different things, you notice, and people who have been incarcerated before, they'll notice you could be in a, you know, let's just say you're in a jailhouse. Depending on where they place you, even though you're incarcerated, you might kind of have it good, because they might place you in a good dorm or in the front of the jail to where you're not really in there with bad people. So you don't get to experience what happens when they do like what they did to me. They put me in what I would say the worst part. You know, I'm in there with people who already been sentenced life 2 times. They don't have nothing to lose, for real. And the guards wouldn't even come in our dorm unless they came with a lot of people with their shields and everything on. So at that point, I knew, like, okay, for me to, you know, to make it with the things that I'm seeing and hearing, you might see somebody get stabbed. You might see a big gang fight. You might, you know, you see things that you never can forget. So I knew that, man, I need God. I need to find something not only for physical protection, but for the mental. Because your mental state, that's where they aim to break you. You know, if you locked up 23 hours out of the day, you don't know what time it is, you don't see nothing. The little hour you think you're gonna get, they take it from you. They would come in and do random checks on my room to try to find a shank or something. They'll probably make lies on me, because at the beginning they didn't know who I was. They only knew that this was a Louisiana man. We got the story, he came to Georgia and killed somebody, we gonna treat him bad. So it wasn't until they got to know me that they saw that, man, this is not the man the news portrayed him to be. You know, yeah, he made some mistakes, but you know, I prayed every day. I prayed, I read, and for the first time in my life, I felt God's presence. Like I literally felt him in my cell with me, and I knew that everything was gonna be okay. I knew that, you know, no matter what the facts look like, no matter that they telling me, hey, you take this plea, you can get life without the possibility of parole, or we gonna seek the death penalty. And that's what they was telling me in the beginning. And I'm like, despite all that, man, long as I got God in here and I'm seeing the way he's using me to touch other inmates, they were coming and asking me to, you know, some of them couldn't read. So they were asking me, can you read the Bible? You know, can you tell, we ain't never heard some of these stories you talking about. And I'm like, sure. So I'm saying, like, man, it's deeper than me. It ain't even about me no more. If I wasn't in here, these men that's in here who never even heard how we got here, they never heard the Adam and Eve story. They never knew that, you know, man, if you'd be amazed. Like, I'm like, dang, even though I was far off, I heard these stories before that some of these men never heard. And I'm like, golly, God, you doing something here. So that was my first one-on-one encounter with God. And because of how he protected me in there, I never had to physically fight. I had some arguments, but then other inmates would take up for me. I had one inmate, he just completely beat somebody to like a bloody pulp, you know. And that person was, you know, it's sad because they deserved it, you know. Once again, people, you know, they look at the outer appearance and they think, okay, man, we could mess with him. He ain't gonna do nothing. And at that point in my mind, I'm already knowing that, okay, what I'm capable of. I know I don't have no guns in here, but I know that my hands work perfectly fine. And I know that if I do have to use a weapon, I will. But I didn't want to because I was getting closer to God, and to see how he used people to stand up for me even when I didn't have to stand for myself. I had to, you know, some people come home and make lies like, oh, I'm this big bad person. I had to give him the glory. Like, man, God did that. I didn't do any of it. You know, look, I'm one person. If they want the 20 people come jump on me in there, what can I do? You know, it is. So for me to see what he did for me, I'm like, all right, these kids need to hear. They need to know the truth. I'm not going to come home and lie to them like some of these rap artists do and glorify being in jail and glorify selling drugs. I'm going to tell them the truth. Man, it was times that I didn't know how I was going to make it. But God was the one who protected me. He was the one that kept my sanity no matter what took place in there. And that's how I was able to come home and kind of black out some of the things I heard in there, some of the things I seen, because it is a lot that go on behind bars that can just completely wipe your mental out.
So let's transition to the Remy we have today.
Yes.
Okay. I've seen a few of your videos on Facebook, on Instagram, and I see you out in the community and you're helping the homeless. You're feeding them, taking them out off the street and so on and so forth. Tell us a little bit about that. What brought that about?
So I'm gonna tell you directly and indirectly. Okay. I have to go back to when I was incarcerated. I used to write a lot. Okay. I would write letters to God. I still have these letters. So when I would write, I asked him a certain request. I said, God, if you ever see fit to set me free, I want to be able to work with the youth. I want to be able to give back to them in a positive way now, not that negative Remy, the positive. I want to be able to share our story with them, tell them how you brought me out of the lion's den, what you did for me. And I asked them specifically, I say, don't allow me to do it until you see that I'm ready. Because I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to be telling the kids, don't do this, don't do that. But then when they see me, they hear that I'm out here still selling drugs or still doing this or, you know, just doing everything negative. That, you know, kids are smart today. They're going to wonder, well, why are you telling us not to do it and you doing it? So the good thing about it, I got out in 2010, 2018. It was March of 18. God answered those prayers in order. Because I also asked him, I say, God, use me to be able to go back and speak to the inmates because they need hope. Anybody without hope, they need some form of hope. So I'm like, if you could use me and the story that we have, I could go back and speak to them and give them some encouragement. So if they get a chance like I got, they'll know what to do with it, be rehabilitated. And in March, I ran across a set of kids. We were in Baton Rouge at the time. And I was going through I was in a dark place too, so I can't leave that out. I was getting ready to open up a nightclub with my sister and my brother-in-law at the time, and some things didn't go right with it. So, and I was going through some problems with my relationship. So I went back into a very dark place mentally. And this particular Thursday, my dad and mom, they knew that I was in this dark place, so they came and they invited me to church. And I didn't want to go. I was like, man, but they just come with us. So I went to the church service with them. Try to make a long story short, my apostle at the time, her son, I had never met him, but I had heard of him. He was in there giving a sermon, and he kept looking at me, and I was getting offended. I'm like, why he keep looking at me? You know, and then I'm in a dark place. I'm angry, so I'm like, man, he need to stop looking at me. But I'm assuming he saw something on me, and he introduced himself to me. And I want to say he also gave me a hug. So he showed me a form of love that I wasn't used to at church. Normally when you go to church, people look at you judgmental. They look at your tattoos and stuff, and you can kind of tell what they thinking when they looking at you. And that's not, like, you expect that in the world, but when you at church, you know, you don't expect to get judged. You want to get embraced. Well, he embraced me. So that love broke all that anger. It broke all that hurt. And I'm like, dang, you know, maybe I need to reevaluate my life and think about the blessings. I'm free now. So this one particular night, me and my mom and my daughter and my nieces, we in Baton Rouge we were going to eat out at Texas Roadhouse. The line was too long, so instead we went to Backyard Burger right next door, where I saw these kids that were surrounded, and I'm thinking negative. I have to be honest, like when I first saw them, I'm being that same judgmental person who I talk about. You know, I'm thinking like, it's like 10 o'clock at night. What are they doing? I'm looking at their ages. I'm like, what they doing out here that late? They up to no good. So I said that out loud. Well, my niece in the back, she said, Uncle Man, they helping. It's a homeless guy on the ground. They helping him. So I'm like, I pulled the truck around to the side, and I said, I'm just gonna park it to see if they really helping them or if they teasing them, if they taunting them. So I'm still thinking negative. Well, then I park and I'm looking at them. I see none of them pull out their phones or anything, but they start pulling like milk and cereal and stuff out of bags. So I'm like, they helping them. So I got emotional, you know, and I'm telling my mom, I say, Mom, I feel less than a man if I drive back to Gonzales and not go acknowledge these young men for their good deeds, shake their hand, and tell them how I was judgmental, even though they didn't know that. So I did that. I got out the car, walked up to them. I introduced myself, told them I was sorry. I asked them what they spent. I said, what did y'all spend on this? They was like, oh, it was under $10. So I knew that I had just come from the ATM, and I had pulled at the time, my max that I could pull out was $500, and I had that in 20s. So I pulled it out and I divided it amongst the little boys. And they all was excited because they like, shoot, all we spent was $10 and we getting this. And I wanted them to understand. I was like, don't look at what y'all getting. I'm giving this to y'all because when y'all went to Walmart and y'all purchased these items, y'all didn't know that y'all was gonna meet me and get a bigger prize. So I want to teach y'all, when y'all do good in life, something is gonna come back. A reward is gonna come. Now you might not know when it's gonna come, but it's gonna come. And the homeless guy who was laying on the ground, he kind of stopped me, and he say, can you do me a favor? Now, I'm still kind of in my judgmental mind. I'm like, boy, he just saw me pull out all his money, divided amongst the kids. He about to ask me for something. But he's, to my shocking, he said, I want you to get these kids' numbers, and I want you to mentor them. And he looked at the kids, and he said, I want y'all to listen to him, because this is a man who's been through a lot in life. Now, I never met this man a day in my life. He gave me, man, I'm like, how do he know that? I really have been through a lot in life. How do he know that? And he said it with such authority, such confidence. Like, y'all really need to listen to him. So my mom got out then, and we just having a full-blown conversation. I wound up putting it on Facebook. It wound up going viral, like had over 20-something thousand shares, people giving their input, and it was like, the experience was just life-changing. And my mom, she say, go back to them letters you used to write. Think about what God doing right now. You specifically asked him to mentor children. Now, you didn't ask about the homeless, but you asked about kids. He used kids to get your attention, because if he would have used the adult or somebody, I probably would have never paid attention. But it was the kids who got my attention to the homeless man. So from that point, I say, you know what? I want to go out. I want to help as many people as I can. I can't change the world, but I definitely can help. And I start going out. I start feeding. I say, I'm not going to stress on what I can't do. I want to buy 1,000 burgers. Right. But right now, all I could afford, my first time going out, I bought, I think, 17. The next time I doubled it, 34. Then I just kept doubling it. I said, you know what? As God bless me, some people going to see it. I had people hitting me up like, hey, we'll send you something on PayPal. So I would take their money, put it with mine, and it just grew. And I was like, look at what God doing. And people didn't know I was actually homeless before in a sense, but by choice. Not, I could have always went back to my parents, but a lot of times I chose to go sleep on other people's couches and on the floor because I had this, I'm a man. It don't look right living with your parents as a man. I had that misconception, So I knew what it felt like to a certain degree. I say, man, I got to give them hope. wherever God see fit for me to go. It's more than just giving them food. It's just giving them that love that the pastor gave me. It all goes back to what he gave me that night. He gave me an embracing love that changed my whole outlook on everything. And that's what I want to do for people that I meet.
I see that you started a nonprofit organization called LeadLead.
Yes.
LeadLead, acronym for?
It's love. Start off with that love.
Love. Okay.
Yep. So that's why it's important. It's actually sentimental. You know.
So what does the acronym stand for?
It's love, educate, advocate, dream.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that is a nonprofit for our youth. It doesn't matter the race, doesn't matter the gender. We want to reach everybody who's receiving, you know, that would like to come in. We're gonna go through anybody that come in, they have to pre-register first. When they pre-register, they must go through the love class. It's a course we're gonna teach. Different people are teaching. And it's about teaching the difference between our love and God's love. Our love is based on condition. God's is unconditional. So being that I've been rich before, I've been broke before, I've been around people who are very wealthy, very successful in what we deem successful. But if they don't have that love in their heart, they don't care to show you how to get to where they at. They don't care to give you, even if it's just the basic knowledge. But if you got God's love in your heart, I don't care if you're a football player, basketball player, rap artist, singer, whoever you are, you're gonna care to reach back out to your community or surrounding communities and teach them how to get there. So that's why it's so important for me to teach the kids that first, to do it in order. And then it's also one of the greatest commandments that Jesus left, you know, to love God with all our mind, body, and soul, and love each other like we love ourselves. It's very important. So when they learn that, then I feel like they can be truly successful in whatever craft they want to do, whether it's sports or jobs or whatever.
How long has it been since you've had?
We started it, me and my best friend Aaron Payton. We started
Shout
it.
out AP.
Yes, shout out to AP. And we have a powerful story together. It shows people why it's so important to choose your friends wisely. AP has been such a strong anchor, like a pillar for me, you know, even mentally, physically, financially, everything. So we're going to teach kids, we're going to be examples to them to show them why it's so important to have that, because you become what your surroundings are. If you hang with negative people, I don't care how positive you are, eventually you're going to become that, because spirits rub off. If you hang with people that want something out of life, eventually you're going to want something out of life. So we're going to teach them. We're going to take a load off of the teachers. A lot of times I hear people complaining about what teachers don't do, what the schools don't do. They don't put themselves in a place. Teachers do a lot and they don't get paid too much, but they got to be parents at home. They have to be parents to some of the students in school. So if we can come in and help take a load off of those teachers and say, you know what, we're going to come in and teach just the basic needs of the kids. Teach them how to cook. Teach them if a fire break out at your house, what do you do? Just teach them basics. That's the things we're going to aim at with this program. You know, just teaching the kids basic, how to write a resume. If you're getting ready to get out of school, we're going to work with you. We got people already in place to teach you how to do a resume, how to apply for a job. We got certain people that's ready to hire you straight out of the program if you do good in the program. That's the incentive, you know, so we got a lot of reward programs for them. And if when they come in, we put a file together. We ask where they at with curriculum, where they at with their conduct grade. We want to see that we're making a change in their life. If they pick it up from a D to a C to a B, B to an A, we're going to reward them on whatever level they on and give them what they like, not just what we like, you know.
And this is for boys and girls?
Boys and girls.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
We don't want to put no limits on it. It's welcome, it's open to everybody who want to come in. Now we are going to have to put a limit on how many kids we have until we get more volunteers to help chaperone and stuff. So right now our limit is about 15 to 30 kids, and as it grows with more people coming in volunteering to help, we're going to expand, because we also going to take the kids on field trips, like to the prison, Some people might not understand why you're taking kids to prison, but that's the best place for them to learn. Is from people who are there that can tell them why it's so important to make good decisions now so you don't end up there later. You know, and that's why we also take them to feed the homeless so they can understand that, hey, it's not just about feeding. You got to make good choices now so you don't end up there. So it's a meaning behind everything we do. Even if people don't understand the methods, don't look at the method, look at the goal, what the mission that we're trying to accomplish.
This is good. I'm glad
Yes.
that you guys are doing this. And the reason I say that is these young kids need some type of outlet, you
Yes.
know, and they may not be able to go to parents or, just don't want to go to parents and feel more
Correct.
comfortable going to someone else who they feel they can relate to.
That's right.
And so this type of program will be able to give them that outlet to be able to, socialize with other kids their age and see them progressing as well. Like I see this, what you're saying. I see a big building, hosting all of these kids, hosting these events, so on and so forth, and just, just something that I think the parish needs. So this is something that's real good.
Thank you.
Quick question. Do
Okay.
you feel that our hometown is supportive in the things that you're doing?
Honestly, I think it's the same way when I was in the world. The hometown really don't support you until you make it. And it's sad, I'm not proud to say that. I have some people that come along like you guys, they come and they do support, but it truly takes a village. In the hometown, they have them crab in a bucket mentalities. They see you doing something, and instead of supporting it and celebrating with you, they become jealous or whatever the reason may be. Maybe they not doing what they should be doing in life, so they don't like that somebody else is. But most of them is what I call bandwagoners to extent I've experienced with the music. Nobody believed in me until they saw me move to Georgia and start doing big things on a bigger scale. And it's the same thing with this. I've been going out to Jeanerette, Bro Bridge, Lafayette, all these other places they've been really receiving and receptive to the ideas and really supporting. And then when I look here, it's very few schools and very few people that's really opening their arms to the ideas. And I believe that eventually they will. I pray they will. So again, it's not to talk down on them. It's to just make people aware that your hometown should support more than what they do. I really do feel like even when it comes down to social media, a simple share, a simple, just making other people aware of what we're doing. It's bigger than us. Even if you don't like me, hey, this is bigger than me. It's to help the youth.
So on the business side of it, and I'm saying this because I know when you were in the music industry, I seen you everywhere. You was pushing, you was out on the streets, you had a street team, so on and so forth. If you didn't know Remy, you knew him at some point. What approach do you plan on taking to actually get this organization out? Is it the same approach?
We gonna hit the streets.
With the hustle, okay.
We gonna hustle. We don't care if they like it or not. We just gonna go for it. We gonna pray on everything we do before we do it. Once we know that we got God okay, we going, even with the motivational speaking, that I'm doing also, it's separate from lead, but we combining it in a sense. So everywhere we go, we just gonna promote. We gonna make them believe. Even the people who not believing, we gonna make them believe. And we just gonna keep pushing with it.
What advice do you have to give to young, inspiring entrepreneurs or people who have a similar story? What advice would you give them to get to that next level, to hold their head up and actually thrive in society?
Find out what it is that they want to do. When you find out what it is you want to do, educate yourself on it. You always want education. You never want to sit in a room with people who are already experienced, and you say that you want to do that and you have no clue, not even the basics. Just get involved with the basics. Now you can Google things. The internet can give you information on everything. Just do your research. Most importantly, above all, put God first. You can't do nothing and be truly successful without God. You have to put him first. So for the ones that's inspired, always know, some people say the sky's the limit. it's no limit. Shoot for it, write it down, make your plans known. Write it down so that when you achieve it, you can go back and look like, man, I said I was gonna do this. You know, so those are some things they can do, and surround yourself around positivity.
Good, good. Can you leave us with your social media? Where can you be reached?
Yes.
Your information.
Facebook is Remy Ro. Instagram is Remy Ro 86, and that's spelled out. It's Remy Ro 8, the number 8, and then you spell out 6. My Twitter is Remy Ro 86. So if you want to contact me also by email, it's remyro86@gmail.com. My name is Remy Ro, and I am the Black Market.